how are you feeling today? How are you feeling since Monday? How has this week sort of opened your eyes? Anything shifting? Anything feeling like it's starting to remind you of what you used to know? Oh, Sam said today versus Monday is not even comparable. Hopeful, open, literally so good. Yeah, and it's amazing what happens when you feel that good. It's incredible what starts to happen in your life and how you start to change the world. Colleen, I feel like I should check one thing if I can try to stream it. So can you talk to these gorgeous souls for 1 minute and I'll see if I can try, because when there's tech things, my mind's still thinking about that. So do you want to, oh wait, you're muted, you're muted, you're muted, you're muted.
Thanks. Oh my goodness, you guys, it's amazing. It's so beautiful to see the evidence really of how quickly things can change for us. I think sometimes we think the change needs to be like monumental and it's going to be, you know, somewhere way out in the future and it's going to be massive. And it really is just about tapping into that energy and the possibility and feeling good. And you guys can feel it. You can really feel it. Miriam says, Cathy's messages never get old. It's a reminder of how important it is to be around the right people to help you elevate 1,000,000%. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, we certainly get inundated enough every single day with the scarcity, with the lack, with the limitation, with the doubt. And so the more we can just immerse ourselves in a different version of reality, because it's all here for us.
Oh. All right, well, that's not happening today. I'm not gonna be able to stream it for some reason. But we have so much stuff to get into today, and I'm so happy that you're starting to feel this lift. The truth is, you guys, that typically we only perceive about 1% of reality. That's how much we actually perceive. And I hear some like noise in the background. Colleen, do you hear that? I don't know. I'll mute you just in case it's something in your place, but I don't think it is. The thing about it that we don't realize is that our brain, right, when we think over and over and over again, the way that we thought yesterday, the way we thought the day before, it actually lulls our brain to sleep. I'll give you an example. Have you ever been driving somewhere you've been 1,000,000 times, and you have this thought when you get out of the car, like, did I even make that left turn? Like, I don't remember making the left turn, or I don't remember making that other like right turn or putting my blinker on. You're just in habit, right? You just know how to make the left turn. You know where to go. Routine lulls the brain to sleep, right? And so often we want to have this incredible thing called our life. We want to have the most amazing time, the most incredible time. We want to have these new experiences. We want to have these like, oh my gosh, you can't believe what happened kind of days. But we are in a place where the pattern is that we're only seeing like 1% of what's happening. And why do you think that is? Based upon what we talked about this week, can anyone like think about why do you think we only perceive 1% of reality? Is there anything that we talked about that you can remember, any fact or any research or anything we talked about that might give you a clue why we only see 1% or perceive 1%? Yeah, Sarah, that's right. Because an atom is 99% energy and 1% matter, particle, physical, and that is an actual reflection of the whole world. And so when we are in these sort of lower states, these places where we feel heavy, we feel down, sadness, self-doubt, trying to predict, anxious, worried, we only really see like 1% of what's here. There's actually an interesting study that they did with a magnetometer, and they took this tool and they put it on top of different kinds of eggs. So like goose eggs, reptile eggs. They even ran it across a person with a baby in the womb. And what do you think they found? They found on this magnetometer that there was a positive charge wherever the head was, and there was a negative charge wherever the feet were. And does anyone know what a positive and a negative create? What that makes? Yes, Sam, that's right. It creates a magnet. It creates a magnet when there's a positive and a negative. Now watch this. They found that when the baby was born, when we were in stress, when we were in fight or flight, when we were worried, when we were anxious, when we were nervous, when we were thinking about the past, when we were thinking about the future, there's no positive and negative, there's just negative. We just leave this sort of higher energetic frequency and we kind of go all into this other place. So when you think about that, right, how often have we been taught this very kind of masculine approach, which is like to do? What do you need to do? You got to hustle, you got to grind, hustle mode on, right? Like boss up, like all of that stuff is very in vogue. And the feminine energy, right, is the being, the receiver, the attractor. What do you think is more powerful? Asserting a lot of energy or being so in a magnet that you just pull everything right to you? So imagine if I had a toaster and it was literally the best toaster. And the truth be told, this is a true story. And everything I tell you is true, but like this seems not true because it's so ridiculous. But my husband is such the opposite of me. I make decisions like this. I do not overthink anything. It drives my team crazy, but they love it at the same time. I spend no time on anything. I just move. I just move and move and move without overthinking, because I really try not to get into my over analytical, that part of me that I think takes me out of flow state. He's the opposite. He's a lawyer by trade. So we were getting a toaster. We moved into this new house and he's like, you bought everything. You didn't consult me. Let this be one thing that I get to buy. And I was like, great. How hard could it be? He'll get a toaster. The man, and this is the true part of the same true story, took 6 weeks to get a toaster. And I was like, so we drive past Bed Bath & Beyond every day. Amazon delivers by Prime. And it's 6 weeks till I can get a bagel hot out of a toaster. He's like, but you don't understand. You would have just bought this other toaster. This one has all these bells and whistles. This one comes with the best reviews. This one, and I'm like, I'm upset because the cost of the 6 weeks, not as concerned about all this. Now, let's say this toaster is not plugged into the electricity, right? Keep sticking the bread in. I can move all the settings around. It has an air fryer in there. It does. It has all these things that it does. He's obsessed with it. He tells everybody about it. No, he spends many minutes telling people about this toaster. I just find it so funny. But anyways, the toaster does a lot of things. If it's not plugged into the electricity, does it do anything? Nothing. Like you'd be better off with just a hot plate that's plugged in than a fancy toaster that has 15 different settings and can take 14 slices of bread and can do pizza and this and all this, like if it's not plugged in, right? Most of the time, I would say almost 100% of the time, I meet people who come to me and say, I want 10K months. I want 30K months. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And I look at what's happening and they tell me what they're doing and they tell me what maybe they're not doing and what do they need to be doing. And I'm like, this is an energetic shift issue. Like what's coming out of the megaphone, everything you're putting in the world, the way you're showing up, what you just shared with me, how you just shared this with me, we are just not plugged in to the electrical outlet. Type a 1 in the chat if you get what I'm saying. We need the magnet. You can take your hand, you can put an iron on an ironing board, and you could do this all day long. You could take a vacuum and move it all around your house till you were sweating. And if it's not plugged in, nothing happened. Nothing except that you're exhausted. And most of the time, people are coming to me because they're exhausted because you were sitting on gold. because you are the alpha and the omega, because you are made of electricity, because you are electricity itself. I sat in a lab at UCSD in front of an incubator that had pancreatic cancer cells. And I watched, this is at a university. This is not at some cool, like, offshoot of Blue Band Group, like offshoot of Coachella, like offshoot of like this is at a university with doctors in lab coats. And we watched meditators walk in a room, and the thermostat changed, the temperature in the room changed, and an hour later, the cells inside of this incubator changed. Why did they change? Because energy affects matter. Matter doesn't affect energy. Frequency carries information. You could have the most beautiful email that you just decided to spend an hour crafting the right words. If you don't have Wi-Fi, you don't send that email. Since the beginning of us connecting and sending information, Morse code, cell, phone, phonograph, right? Audio, visual. The frequency carries the information, literally. Frequency carries information. You are all day long, whether you know it or not, broadcasting information into this field. And that information is being met. And that is the result of your life. Type a 1 in the chat if you're getting that. So I have to say, I want to tell you, by the way, something I'm so excited about, which you guys, I think, are going to be like thrilled about. But the reason I literally feel, there's certain times when you feel morally obligated to tell somebody about something, right? There was a time where my husband and I were in such a bad place, and we had met this John Gottman therapist. She studied with John Gottman, and she had been referred to us, and we went to see her. And by the time we finished seeing her, it was like a 180-degree difference, 180-degree difference. And I remember that there would be times, several times, at least 5 or 6 times, that I would be talking to somebody who was in a couple, and they would tell me where they were at, and I would emphatically recommend this woman. And I would follow up with a text saying, like, I don't make any money from this. You have to see her. Like, if you're already at this place where you're considering this, you have to talk to her. Because I knew how helpful she is. So it's kind of like, if you, and you've done this so many times in your life, right? You've come out of seeing Good Will Hunting, and you say to all your friends, you have to see it. Like, you have to see this movie. It's 2 hours so well spent. Or you read a book. Like, I read Jon Kabat-Zinn's book, Wherever You Go, There You Are, years ago, and just kept giving it away and buying a new copy and giving it away and buying a new copy. And I was like, this book will change your life. You have to read it. Like, it's worth it, because 5 pages in, you will no longer feel the way you felt 10 minutes before, and you won't feel that way ever again if you keep this book next to your bed. Like, that's how much I appreciated this book. I've been to Joe Dispenza's retreats, and I say to people, they sell out in 9 minutes. You have to go. Like, it's, your life is worth you going for 6 days to meditate 8 hours a day the way that he does it. Like, you'll never, ever, 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 ever be where you were before. You can't go back. You can't unsee what you see. You can't change your energy. It's amazing, right? So I've had the blessing of being a part of this community now, and creating this community and co-creating this community, because this community is not me, full stop, right? This community is me, it's Colleen, it's the rest of our team, and it's the humans who've been a part of this community who, like the Care Bear stare. Everybody comes in, opens their heart, and everybody is so unwilling anymore to settle for anything less than the highest and best vibration. And that has catapulted us into a place where the work is so clean and it's so good that I do feel morally obligated to say, this program is only open a couple times a year, and you have to figure out a way to be in it. Because I see what happens in the program. I can't not see what I see. And anyone who's in the program will tell you that. It is just lightning in a bottle, and it's incredible. And I want to tell you this in case you don't know, but if you went to the page yesterday because you were thinking of enrolling, the price for the program will go up next week. In fact, the last time we launched this program, the price kept going up, and eventually it was $8,000, and it's worth probably $50,000. People pay 200 grand to go to college. People pay 50 grand to go to college. People pay $75,000 a year to go to Yale. It depends where you go. But what I find so fascinating about that is it's theoretical, right? You're going to sit and you're going to have this theoretical conversation where this is actual, literal. You are doing the work with us step by step by step. So I'm so excited about it. And so I will tell you that we have another really cool announcement, which this is what I said. Some of you are going to be so excited because I'm so excited about it. We just locked in, we wanted to announce this today, our next live event, in-person retreat, which is going to be in Malibu at the most gorgeous place. And it's absolutely stunning. We are so excited about it. Just the place alone, you exhale on a level that you haven't exhaled in a long time. The dates are August 1st through the 3rd. And what we are letting you guys know is two really cool things. One, the retreats are usually $29.97. And the last retreat we had was 2 weeks ago. And I am so proud to tell you that every single woman, not 14 of the women, not 75%, but every single woman who came to this retreat said it was the most powerful experience they have ever had. We do so much work that I can't even begin to tell you how we collapse time and space in 3 days. We are doing this in Malibu, August 1st through the 3rd, and the program is normally $29.97. It is $500 off if you grab it in the next few days. And if you sign up for the program and you get the platinum version of the program, which is so amazing because it comes with so many incredible sessions with Martha Beck, Amy Purdy, Candace Nelson, Jenna Kutcher, Morgan Harper Nichols. It's an unbelievable package. If you get the platinum version of this program, you actually get the retreat included now. So that's a big, incredible gift. If you just want to buy the retreat, you can get it for $500 off if you go ahead and grab your spot. And I'm going to tell you one more fun thing is that if you use the code LOVE when you check out, just till tomorrow night, you get $300 off the program if you want to buy into just this 3-month course. So you've got 3 amazing options. You can use the $300 code and you can grab the 3-month experience. You can get the platinum experience for $300 off. Plus, by getting it, you also get this in-person experience, or you can just buy this in-person retreat, which is a small, intimate group, right? We take a fraction of the people who are in the program because we cap it at a certain place, and it's beautiful and it's intimate and it's life-changing. My life is changed doing it, as well as the participants. And we actually have a video we'll post later of like a reel to show you a little bit what the retreat was like 2 weeks ago, but ask anybody who was there. It was a portal to a next place. And the reason all of this is so important is because I've completely had it with seeing women who are not allowing in abundance into their life. There's no good reason for it. There's reasons, but there's no good reason for it. So how many of you, let's get into now some content. I just had to make those announcements because I'm so excited. Colleen and I were like tearing up last night, looking at this going, oh my God, this is really, and by the way, I manifested this place because at our last retreat, I had everybody do this little exercise where they pulled some images of things they want to manifest in their life. And I'm like a master at that. And so I showed Colleen last night that I had Googled this particular place at 12:56 on May 20, whatever, when we were all there. And I go, look it, that's it. That's the place. And she's like, look at that. So the right dates, the right place, it's going to be gorgeous. You're going to love it. And there's so many beautiful hotels where you can stay near there. There's the Four Seasons in Westlake. There's the Hyatt in Westlake. There's the Malibu Inn. It'll be really like the greatest gift that you give to yourself in a long, long time. So we're very, very excited about that. But I say to women, I'm just at a place where I refuse to sit here. I refuse at this point, clearly. Cathy doesn't keep her mouth shut, but I refuse to sit here and let you go another 3 months, go another year and feel okay and just have just enough. Like, I want you to buy what you want. I want you to help your mom buy a house. I want you to take your kids to Laguna Beach. I want you to underwrite what's going to happen so that these next round of gun laws start to change. I want you to start to see that that was just the beginning of what you were here to create, that you're really starting to create so many other things. I want you to have the experience of playing in reality itself, which is totally expansive. And so I want to ask you this question. What would be amazing? Like, what amount of money would change your life? How much would you want to be making a month to really feel a difference? Like, would $10,000 coming in consistently every month feel so good? Would $30,000 a month every month feel so good? Would $150,000 a month feel so good? Like, what would feel so good? 8,000, 400,000, 50,000, 30,000, 8,000, 10,000, 100K. Amazing. Incredible. I'm here to tell you that, again, there's no good reason why you cannot be receiving that, because it's already here, because it's already done. You, like all of us, when we are caught in this one particular part of our subconscious, we come up with all of the reasons why we are far away from what we want, why we are probably unworthy of what we want, and why there's a lot of things that we have to do between where we are and where this other thing is. And that just feels really hard. And the truth is that my life, right, is just one example, right? But just one example. And what I love about, and especially those of you who will be in the program, you're going to get to meet such incredible human beings. The women in this program that you meet, it's really hard to meet Morgan Harper Nichols and think anything other than she is a minister. She is one of the kindest souls, right? Candace Nelson, who created Sprinkles Cupcakes and went on to sell it for millions and millions of dollars. She's so humble. She is like Willy Wonka. It's incredible to hear her story. All of these women are making hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s, if not millions of dollars a month. And they didn't have to trade their integrity. They just had to actually be truly themselves. They had to unbecome all the things that are in the way, all of the things that are not them. And for the past several years of my life, I've experienced consistently making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and it's an NBD. It's a no big deal. And what's so cool is that once you're in a place where you really start to get this, you realize, oh, now I can actually focus on what I'm really here to do. Now I can actually focus on what's the real work that I have in this world. What's the real change I want to make? And so if you did, let's think about this, right? If you did have this amount of money coming into your life every single month, 15K, 20K, 30K, 100K, what would you do with it? Where would you put it? How would it change your life? What would you eat? What would you wear? And I'm really curious. I want you to put it in the chat. What would you do with it? How would you allocate it? I want you to put in the chat because I would like to unpack this a little bit. So Kara said I would do so many community events. I would travel, vacation, home, gift. Yes, I would be more generous. I would buy a home in the Bahamas. I would hire a chef. I would save towards a mortgage. I would pay off debt. I would travel. I would give back. So beautiful. And I like seeing here that there's a mix of things that you would do to enjoy your life, as well as things that you would do to make the world better. Because again, our ego wants to tell us, who are you to receive, which is not coming from your soul. And wouldn't you believe that the thing that actually inspires other people so much, more than anything else, is seeing a person totally lit up, totally in the receptive mode. If you went to lunch, a beautiful rooftop, and enjoyed spending time with your friends, and took some kind of like picture or shared the experience, the vibration of you enjoying your life, you wouldn't believe how magnetic that is. How we want to feel loved into life by other people being in that flow state, being in this place where they are truly receiving, right? So I think that it's fascinating. And now let's do a little bit more work on this, because you came here this week because you want to live a more abundant life. And we just talked about all the beautiful things that you would experience if you had more abundance. So the first most important step to getting to the next place is really being able to be aware and diagnose, right, what's going on, so we can figure out what the remedy is. So if you're being brutally honest, what's the reason that comes to mind that you don't right now experience that in your life? What's the reason you're not allowing that, where you don't feel like you can receive it, or you feel there's something in the way? What feels, and you can be brutally honest, you can say, oh, you don't understand, that's not possible, or you don't understand, I'm not this, or, and Colleen, I'll unmute you so that you can see what you're seeing in the chat.
Yeah, a lot of fear and self-doubt, uncertainty, yeah, not being good enough. It doesn't get to be that good, right? Like it's too good to be true. It's not safe to have all of that. Yeah, tons of self-doubt for sure.
Yeah. So how is that serving us? And what is it costing us? And how much is that self-doubt really putting us in alignment with who we are? How much of our soul do you think spends time thinking about how unworthy it is to be a soul, to be in this world, to be part of this infinite reality, right? So I want to tell you guys a story. And I don't script anything, you know, I don't even script my meditations. I've just been leading meditation for so long. I just kind of feel into it. And this story is just coming to me. I told you the beginning of the story, but I want to tell you this part, because so often, right, we think that our biggest life, the millions, the billions, the biggest impact, you know, it comes from, well, I would have to right now have this idea and this plan, and what are the steps and all of that stuff. And I get it. And, you know, we're just wired into that because that's from the predictable seeing the world as 3D. But so often, when we really see and understand what has created things in this world, it's really helpful. And so I want to share with you, this one story is coming to mind. So I told you that I sat with Howard Schultz, who is the man behind Starbucks. And what people don't always know, right? They kind of just see things and they don't know how they began. But this is just so beautiful, is that I told you earlier this week, the first part of the story, that he grew up in public housing. He grew up below the poverty line. He lived in a tenement, and his father had been hurt in the Vietnam War, and his mom was basically just ironing clothes, making ends meet, and always said to him that even though they were living at the last stop of the L train in Canarsie, Brooklyn, She said to him every single night, "This is not your last stop. You won't get off here. Promise me that you know that this is not your last stop. Promise me you won't get off here." And he told me with tears in his eyes that that completely and totally saved his life. And he had never been outside of the United States because they grew up with such poverty, never had the means to travel. And he was working early on at FedEx and making cold calls. And cold calls back then was walking into somebody's office unannounced to sell whatever it is they were selling. He was a salesman, walking in every day, carrying around equipment, carrying around paper, carrying around things, like that was his job. And he got an opportunity to work for a coffee company in Seattle, not Starbucks, a different company. And he said to his wife, "Maybe we should go because I've never traveled. And even though it's not as much money, I just feel like it'd be kind of fun to see the world a little bit." So they went to Seattle. And sure enough, a few months after getting there, he gets told that this company is doing a corporate kind of a conference in Italy, and they're sending him to Italy. And he can't believe it because he's never been out of the country. And it's like the coolest thing in the world that he gets this free trip to go to Italy. So he goes and he's sitting in these day-long meetings and he really wants to get outside. And he thinks, I might get in trouble and they paid for me to get here, but he's looking at his schedule and he's like, if I do these meetings, doesn't matter that I was in Italy. I never left this ballroom of this hotel. I don't ever saw anything. So he decides to sneak out one day. And he's just got tears streaming down his face. And his father had passed. He said, I wish my dad could see me in Italy. Wish my dad could see me. He's having the best day of my life. Just walking around. And it makes me cry. And he sees on every corner, there's these little espresso bars. And he sees something really interesting, which is that the coffee cups are this big. And he realizes that nobody's sitting there drinking coffee after a while, but they linger. They just sit there for a while. And he keeps walking and he sees another espresso bar, another espresso bar, another espresso bar. And he realizes that the reason people are sitting is not to drink the coffee. They just want to sit together. They just want to be together. And he says to himself, there's nothing like that in the United States. Like you can go get breakfast, you can get eggs and bacon and toast, but there's no place where you just sit, you just linger, right? Not like that. And he comes back and he's so inspired and he says to his wife, I want to make that place. I want to make a place where people just come, not for the food. They come to just be somewhere where they sit with other people and they talk to each other. And so he decides that this is his mission. And soon after that, he discovers that there's this tiny little coffee grind company that just makes coffee beans and coffee grinds and sells them to corporate places. And it's called Starbucks. It's not a place where you can go get a Frappuccino, but they make coffee. And he finds out that he could buy this business for like $1.4 million. And it's a lot of money. And it seems crazy. And he doesn't have any of it. And he's playing basketball one night with his friend. And his friend says, I've never seen you like this. He goes, I know, this is it. Like, I'm going to do this. This is like my dream. But how am I going to do it? And his friend's like, because it's a done deal. You're doing it. He goes, I'll invest. He goes, yeah, but you don't have enough money. He goes, I know, but the way you just told that story, we're going to get this done. So let's talk to as many people as we can. So he starts talking to this doctor and this lawyer and da-da-da, and he starts to gather together all these people so he can get to this $1.4 million. And he gets a call that somebody is going to buy it all cash in like 2 days. And he goes, well, that's ridiculous. That's insane. Like, how does anyone even know about you? And it turns out it was one of the people he went to, trying to buy it from under him, trying to steal it. So he goes back to play basketball with that same friend, and the friend says to him, that's not okay. That's not ethical. Like, that's ridiculous. You went to an investor, and then this guy's going to try to buy this thing. Like, that's not okay. That's just so unethical. So he says to him, meet me tomorrow at the bottom of this building because I have an idea. So they go to this building, and he goes, where are we going? He goes, you'll see. And they go up to the 11th floor, and they go to the office of Bill Gates Sr. So Microsoft Bill Gates, it's his dad, who was a big attorney in Seattle at the time. And Howard knew who he was, but never had met him. And he walks in, and he's like, oh my God, I wish I would have like dressed up for this meeting. Like, I'm really anxious now. And his friend says, Mr. Gates, I appreciate you meeting with us. This is my friend. This is a story he wants to tell you. So he tells him the story. And Bill Gates Sr. says, is every single thing you just told me the truth? Everything. And he goes, yeah, that's it. And he says, great, meet me back here at 5 o'clock. Okay, they come back at 5 o'clock. And him and his friend and Bill Gates Sr. go to this doctor who was about to buy the business out from under him. And he knows who Bill Gates Sr. is. He's this big lawyer in Seattle. And he walks in and he says, you're going to stand down because that's completely unethical. And you know that it is. And you're not taking this kid's business, because if you do, you're going to have hell to pay. That's it. So Howard's like in tears. He's like, I can't believe that you just did that for me. You don't even know me. He goes, once in a while, you do something nice for someone. So then Howard says, the only problem is I don't have all the money if that doctor bows out. So I hope that they give me like a little bit of time, because you just did something so kind for me. And Bill Gates Sr. says, how much do you need? And hands it to him. And he says, I'll pay you back. I can't believe you just did that. Da, 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 da. He's like, I don't want any interest. Just pay me back. Just pay me back what I just gave you, nothing more. 25 years later, Howard Schultz is invited to speak at Microsoft. And Bill Gates Jr., the Bill Gates that we know, is sitting next to him at this dinner. And Howard gets up to speak, and he sits down. At this point, they're both billionaires. And Bill Gates Jr. says, Howard says to Bill Gates, it's amazing. You and I didn't grow up together. We come from such different places, but neither of us would be sitting here without your father. And Bill Gates says to him, how do you know my dad? Why do you know my dad? And Howard said, are you really telling me that in 25 years, your father never told you, never leaned over and said, that billion-dollar company, Starbucks? He said, no. And Howard said to me, that's humility. That's legacy. And when we were having this conversation, he said, Kath, I wanted to make one restaurant, one Starbucks, whatever you call it, not really a restaurant, but one store. He said, we wound up making 35,000 stores. And he said, you know what I'm really chasing? That kind of legacy, that kind of humility. Making billions of dollars, that's just the beginning. It's that. And you guys, these are the moments where you recognize how much is really possible and how limited we think. Like, we sit here and we're like, I don't even think I could make $10,000 a month. And it's not really even about that. It's like, how much energy could I be a magnet for? How much vision could I muster? How good could I feel so that I now not only become a conduit for an infinite amount, but I take that And I move the world forward in giant ways because we all got, let's call it 100 years, some more, some less, mostly less. And that's available on this choose your own adventure ride, right? So imagine how I feel now, right? Having sat with 650 people who all tell me stories like that. And having lived my life, and what's the glue, right? The glue was the moment he stepped out of the conference and walked down the street and said, I'm having the best day of my life. What happened? Inspiration. Saw something he didn't see before. Saw people sitting. Never thought growing up he'd be in the coffee business. Never thought growing up he knew what he wanted to do. We get really stuck there, don't we? How could I take Cathy's course? I don't even know what I want to do. You won't know until you're available for it. You won't see it until you can see. That's it. You can't see when your eyes are not open, and you can't hear when your ears are clogged, right? So when we start to play in the feelings of, oh my God, here I am walking down the street in Italy, that's the most productive thing you could do, right? Feeling so good. Later on today, you'll Google it. Was Steve Jobs a meditator for years? Yes, he was. How did it start? It started with college dropout. It started with meditation. It started with an obsession about fonts. It started with a calligraphy class. He took a calligraphy class and he started saying, I want to make beautiful things. I want to make something beautiful. I want to make beautiful things. What if technology was beautiful? What if people felt like their computer was smiling at them? What if it wasn't practical, but it was beautiful? And oh my God, did the world buy that? Like, how efficient is an Android? Great, people have them. Some of you have them, no problem. But people don't talk about their Androids like they talk about the Apple. They've actually done studies that the same part of the brain that lights up when you're in love lights up when people hold their iPhone. People are in love with Apple products, literally in love with their Apple products, because his focus was, let's make something beautiful and then let's make it efficient. Let's make it beautiful. Now, if you look again, why are people obsessed? Well, let's think about it. Radical empathy. What is it called when you buy an Apple product? iPhone, iMac, iPad. Why? Why is everything Apple white space? Because his insight, his vision was, you fill the space. You color the space. Use this tool, make your music, write your play. It's yours. Now let's think about all the stores and all the branding where you go in and they're like, it's this and it's that and it's busy and da 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 da. And he went, how about nothing? How about the focus is the customer? It's them. They fill up the space. It's an iMac, it's an iPad, it's about them expressing their gifts to the world. And if you go back and you watch any Apple advertisement, there was a beautiful one like 2 Christmases ago with an ad. It was a girl, animated girl sitting, typing, and the papers kept going out in this Parisian street and flying out, and she kept crumpling them up and throwing them away. And then finally she couldn't help it. And people start reading her poetry and reading her words. And it was like, Apple, share yourself, think different, share your gifts, This is where we get to play. This is where we get to live. We get to memorize how good this feels. And as I'm talking right now, are you noticing that there's parts of you lighting up that maybe you don't feel every day? Type a 1 in the chat if that's correct, if you're having an experience of that. Yeah, so that's you. That's you actually being there, being awake, being in consciousness, playing from the 5%. And the more you meditate, the more you practice this, the more you live from this place, the more you listen to words like this that light you up, you start to completely and totally create the life that you actually came to live. Everything else that we've been designed and programmed to do takes us out of who we are. It makes us, what does school do? It tells you what to think and it tells you how to think. And there's the lines and coloring in the lines and memorizing things and taking tests and getting things right or getting things wrong and being graded. And all of that was built for the Industrial Revolution. All of that was made for people to work for other people, to follow along in assembly lines, right? So everybody who I have had the pleasure of sitting with, these are outliers, right? These are people who decide to fly this way so that they actually can fly, right? So their life actually means something. They actually are getting to be here while they're here. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions or comments? And while you're putting questions in the chat, if some of you want to raise your hand, maybe we'll get to talk to some of you. We can do some Q&A. And I just want to remind you, this is why, right, we decide to do day 4 on Zoom. So you start to really get, right? And my hope is that you guys come through these workshops and you walk away saying, that was so worth my time, right? Because we don't design our programs to take everybody anyway. So it's not like all of you could sign up and it would be hunky-dory because we cap it at a certain place. So I'm hoping that this gives you fuel, rocket fuel. And I also know, like I know, that this program is medicine. And it's so important. It's probably the most important thing you could do. And 3 months from now, you will say, thank God. I feel completely different. I see differently. And what I thought I wanted to create and how I thought I was going to create it, it's eons bigger than that. So I'm going to repeat before we take questions that we have 3 things that we're doing that are so exciting. One is we have a live retreat August 1st through the 3rd, which is going to be freaking ridiculous. And we only take a small group. We take a fraction of even the people that we take in the program, but it's going to sell out. It sold out the last time. So if you want to get in, it's in Malibu, August 1st through the 3rd. And you can get it actually now for $500 less than it normally is by going to the same checkout page, cathyheller.com/join. If you want to be a part of the 3-month experience, which is a hybrid of live calls, as well as things that you can get started watching right away, you can get $300 off if you use the code LOVE for either the gold or the platinum. And if you sign up for the platinum, you'll get to come to the retreat as part of it. We just offered that today as your freebie extra for joining over the next till tomorrow night. How the program is different from other programs. If you haven't, I just saw that in the chat. If you haven't taken Abundant Ever After and you're thinking, how is Abundant Ever After different than my Made to Do This program or my podcasting program? So when I teach podcasting, and by the way, the platinum program comes with my whole podcast program. When I teach podcasting, I teach you all the things I know about starting a podcast, creating an incredibly engaged audience, and monetizing a podcast, which, by the way, has completely changed my life. I'm not, though, teaching you how to memorize being in this magnet. And we're not meditating in a podcast program, although we should be. And in Made to Do This is us going from idea to income, whereas this Abundant Ever After program, we do that also, but we first spend 6 weeks on all of this energetic, all of the work on really how to co-create from the place of true expansion. And then we spend 6 weeks. And really those second 6 weeks, some people, they're like, I already got everything I needed from the first 6 weeks. I'm not even that interested in that because I don't even need it anymore. right? Because things just kind of find their way to you. But it is really cool because having built several businesses at this point, success leaves clues. And I love teaching people, if you do these 15 things, plus you're really in this like magnetic place, you're going to grow your Instagram so fast. If you do these few things and you're already in this magnetic place, there's so much about your podcast that's actually going to take off, and you're going to find listeners, and maybe you're even going to be offered this huge network deal like I was just offered just by talking. People get writer's block. They don't really get talker's block. Like everyone should have a podcast. So there's so many things we teach you inside Abundant Ever After that are really that 1%, but like really good nuggets that why waste your time doing things that don't work? Like people come to me and they're like, I want to start a business. So I thought I needed like 100,000 people on my email list first. And I'm like, or not, like that's not been my experience, right? Or I thought I needed to learn webinar software, or I thought I needed to learn how to send emails with funnels. And I'm like, not my experience, right? I like to do things very much from the things that I see really work. So that's how it's different. And our enrollment will close next week. Just so you know, the price will go up and then it will go up again. So if you want to be a part of this, get in now so you don't kick yourself. Some people paid $5,000 and $6,000 and $8,000. I said, damn it. And I said, yeah, we do that because your ego needs a lot, because there's so much momentum for staying where you are. So we got to get your ego, like we got to move your ego into, I can't, it's so uncomfortable, I have to take action. So that's why we do that. If you use the code LOVE, you can get $300 off either the gold or the platinum program, or the, not platinum, no, platinum, gold or platinum. And if you sign up for the retreat in the next few days, you can get it for $500 off. It's going to be amazing. And if you do the platinum, you now get the retreat also, which is amazing because then you'll get to be with us. So lots of good reason to sign up before tomorrow night. And we've just had the best time. I've really loved it. Thank you for indulging me and letting me do a pretty long meditation with you guys. It was not 5 minutes. It was not 8 minutes. We went in there and I really was impressed and it was beautiful. So you know what you want to do. And like I said, there's a lot of amazing teachers in this world. And if you find somebody who's your person, because I'm not, which I'm not for everybody, do that. But make a decision, because what you're not changing, you're choosing. And don't keep choosing that, because you came in for a reason. You came for something else. Get what you came for. Make a decision. Start memorizing. Don't forget. Don't go back to sleep. You deserve to feel so good. We'd love to see you also subscribe to the podcast. It's free. You can go to cathyheller.com/podcast, and you can follow me on Instagram, and it's going to be so fun. So you got the live retreat August 1st through 3rd in Malibu. You can get it for $500 off, or you can do the live retreat and the platinum program and get $300 off all that bundle if you use the code LOVE by tomorrow night, or you can get $300 off the standard one. And that's a $300 off what the price is now. The price will be going up and it's going to be amazing. And who you're going to be 12 weeks from now, you're going to be so grateful that you remembered your future. So we love you so much. And yes, you can just do the retreat. You can buy the retreat. It's $500 off. Get that retreat. It's going to sell out. We keep it very small. Not everybody in the program will be able to fit in that retreat. So get it before it sells out. It's going to be amazing. Colleen, I adore you. And I'm so sorry I didn't let you talk a ton, because when I get on a roll, that's just what happens. But we have an understanding. She's very forgiving. But believe me, in the program, she talks a lot. You get to see her a lot, and she's really, really gifted. And you get to see me a lot. You'll be so, I was gonna say you'll be sick of it, but I don't think you will be. Anyway, lots of love. Have an amazing evening, and we'll see you inside the program.